everybody. It's time to talk about your paper. So I want to go over how to put this paper together, where you're at in the process. So bear with me. This video is going to be a little bit longer. You're going to want to take some notes so that you're ready to write when you sit down and put this paper together. So be prepared, write down the things that you need to have to get started writing your paper. So the first thing we did, just to kind of review the process, is we worked on our sources. Remember that those sources need to be logical, credible, and timely. So they need to be fairly recent for a current, topic. We need to have credible authors. And they need to be logical, unbiased sources. So that's what we're looking for. So then we worked on creating our source citations. So you have those, and then you put your facts together with those. So now you know that every fact came from a particular source, and because of the way you organized it, you know where that source came or where that fact came from. So every source is already tied to the facts. So when you use a fact, you already know the source it came from, so you're ready to put those citations in your paper. Also, if you wrote it down as a fact on your fact sheet, you know you need to cite it. So here's the big thing you need to understand about citation. If you borrow someone's idea, you must cite it. End of story. Okay? Your words, their words, doesn't matter. You must cite it. But don't panic, because you already know if you need to cite it or not. If you wrote it down on your list of facts, you know you borrowed that idea from somewhere else, it needs a citation with it. Simple as that. Okay, so you made your facts. Normally I would do these as note cards, but you have your fact sheet, so you're ready to go. Okay, and all of those facts are tied to the sources they came from. So we worked on an argument, or we worked on outline and planning out our argument and how we're going to put our argument together. So now we're ready to talk about the paper itself. So a couple of things. You need intro, right? You're going to have to balance the opposing side and your side together. So don't forget that you're making an argument. So you have to be balancing the two sides in your paper by giving me claim, counterclaim, and rebuttal, right? So you have both of those elements in there. And then, of course, you need a conclusion. So you also want to make sure that you combine your logos, pathos, and ethos. So your logic, your feeling, and your credibility. You need to have that logos logic, that pathos emotion, and that ethos, your credibility. Remember, of the three, the one you need to lean on the most heavily is logos, logic. This needs to be logical and clear. So be careful with the emotion. Writing a biased research paper does not do you any favors, all right? And I will be posting the rubric, and so you can see how that fits into your grade, that you're presenting a logical argument and not an emotional one, all right? So be careful with that. Also remember that there's very particular words you should never use in research. You should already know what these are, but words you should not use: stuff, things, a lot, just, very. Don't use any of those words. You're an academic. You're writing an academic paper. Write to an educated audience. So you need to sound like you have some knowledge. Okay? So speak to an educated audience. So be very, very precise with your words. Be very careful and particular about your word choice. Also, you want to avoid most pronouns. You absolutely should not use I in a research paper, because this is not about you. Okay? You need to take yourself out, because using I automatically makes you sound biased. No I anywhere in your paper. Same thing goes for me, because that's just the subjective form of I. You should not use it, because it is very unclear in research. So no it. You should not use you, because you should never speak directly to your reader. And that's what you does. No you. Also, you should avoid contractions: can't, don't, wouldn't, shouldn't, couldn't. Do not use any of those words. The easiest way to make sure that you don't have those in your paper is to hit Control F and then search your paper for those words. So use technology to your advantage and search your paper after you're done writing. Do not use any of these words in research. You want to write very formally. Okay, so just a review of MLA formatting. You all are all familiar with this. You need 1-inch margins all the way around. In the top left corner, your name, my name, the class, and the date. Remember that your rough draft date, or your rough draft needs to have the rough draft due date. Your final draft needs to have your final draft due date. Okay. In the top right corner, you need last name and page number. All of this should sound very familiar. The entire paper should be in Times New Roman 12, and everything, including your works cited page, should be double spaced. So this applies to every paper. All right. By the way, this stuff that goes in the top left, remember that only goes on page 1. The only thing that carries over across every page is that last name page number in the upper right hand corner. Okay, so avoid, do not have this appear on every page. That's not how that works. Also, we don't use cover pages in MLA. That's an APA thing. So no cover page with your paper. Okay. A lot of students say, oh, okay, I'm feeling okay about the body of my paper because I have all these facts and I know where I'm putting them now because I did a stellar outline, right? And I know what I'm doing there, but what do I put in the intro and conclusion? So here are some ideas for what you can put in your intro and conclusion. Give us some background, okay? What do we need to know? This is sort of that who, what, when, where of your topic. What sort of specific details do we need to understand about your topic? So maybe some facts you have that don't really add to the argument. They're really just like details about the topic in general that people need to know. Stick those in the introduction. Also, this is where you can establish your ethos or your credibility. How does this apply to you or to the reader and their specific lives? Again, be careful though to not use you. Okay. You can define your terms. If you're going to define a term, especially things like acronyms, so if you're doing something like the NCAA, how you would do that is you would write out the National Collegiate Athletic Association, and then in parentheses following that, you would put NCAA. Then from then on, you're allowed to just use NCAA. But the first time you use the term, you need to write out the actual words, and then in parentheses, put the acronym. Once you do that, use the acronym through the rest of the paper. So this is a great place to go ahead and just get that done and define what those specific terms are. If there are specific medical terminology, technical terms, things like that we need to understand about your topic, this is also where you should put those is in the introduction. Of course, the one thing you absolutely have to have in your introduction is a thesis. In your conclusion, the big thing you need to do here is now, so once you've done the intro, you've given me all these facts and done claim, counterclaim, rebuttal, claim, counterclaim, rebuttal, over and over, lather, rinse, repeat. When you get to the conclusion, this is really where you need to say, okay, I've given you all these pieces. Now let me bring it all together. Overall, what's the big picture here? Okay. So this is where you really drive home the argument and you pull all those individual puzzle pieces together that you've presented and make it one cohesive picture. That's what you're doing in the conclusion. This is also where you can do some kind of call to action. What do you want the reader to do with the information? Should this change the way we vote? Should we contact our representatives? Should this change the way we spend our money? What is it you want us to do with the information? Okay, the last thing is what we call a look ahead or an appeal to research. So where do you see this issue in 5, 10, or 15 years? What do we still need to do to improve this particular topic? Or how do you see this solution or this idea or this topic playing out in 5, 10, or 15 years? The other thing you can do in a conclusion that I don't have listed on here is what we call a call to research. And that is there something you wanted to know about this topic, but you couldn't find anything on it? This would be a place where you would say more research needs to be done on this particular part of this overall topic. So if I was talking about barefoot running, maybe one thing we still need is more long-term quantitative study of running barefoot and the connection to injury. So we don't have a lot of long-term studies. We have some short, like 2 and 5 year studies of runners who choose to run barefoot, but we don't have any longitudinal, long-term studies. So that would be a thing I could put in my paper. So those are some ideas for the intro and conclusion of your paper. All right. But of course, the most important part is the body. So what are the elements of body paragraphs or body sections? Okay. Every paragraph needs to have a topic sentence, right? We've done this with regular papers. For some reason, though, when we get to research, this idea just sort of seems to vanish. Every paragraph needs a topic sentence, and that topic sentence should not be a fact. These need to be your words. Here's why. This is where you're building the argument, right? These are the major Lego blocks, okay? These are the ground floor of each of the floors of your skyscraper. So this is the floor beams of each floor of your skyscraper. These topic sentences need to be your words. What is it you're going to be proving in this particular paragraph? And how does that then relate to the overall thesis? So you need to keep coming back to the thesis. It'll feel a little repetitive, but that's how you create unity in your paper, is by continuously coming back to that thesis idea. So topic sentence, your words, what are you proving? How does it relate to the thesis? Also, don't forget that topic sentence is also a good place to transition. So you still need transitions in this paper from one idea to the next. So you should have a lot of things like on the other hand, or in comparison, or in contrast. So make sure that these topic sentences create bridges between your paragraphs and make it clear what you're then proving in this paragraph. So that's the first sentence in every body paragraph. Then after that, you need to incorporate your facts. Again, remember to use your own words and summarize your facts as often as possible, because this needs to sound like you, not like your 8, other writers. So keep that in mind. This needs to sound like your voice. If you do need to quote when you incorporate your facts, quote what you must, make the rest of the sentence your own. Okay. So those are the 2 big things going on in body paragraphs, is topic sentences and your facts, put together to build your argument. All right, but there's a little more to it than that. So how do we use our facts and use them well? The Incredible Hulk always cites his sources, of course. So I want to review when you should cite, how you should cite, and then what you should cite. So first, when should you cite? Here's a little reminder I made for you of when you should quote and when you should cite. First of all, if you're using the author's exact words, okay, if you're using their words, give it quotes. Anytime you use the words from your source instead of your own words, it needs quotations. Think of it like dialogue, okay? So you're basically saying this is what they said, so put quotation marks around it. If you put it in your own words, then you don't use the quotation marks. Why? Because it's not them speaking, it's you speaking. So no quotations there. However, either way, you are borrowing their ideas, so a citation is needed. So whether you quote or you do not quote, it doesn't matter. You still have to have a citation every time you borrow an idea. Okay? So whether you quote or whether you summarize, either way, it's borrowing an idea, and so you must cite. So the big thing you have to keep in mind is it's not about borrowing somebody's words exactly. It's about borrowing their ideas. If you have borrowed the idea, whether you put it in their words or yours, you must cite it. The quotation marks simply indicate that these are their words rather than mine. All right, so their words, put in quotes. My summary of their words, no quotes. Either way, doesn't matter. If I borrowed the idea, I must cite it. Now, this should be simple for you because, again, you have these listed on your fact sheets. If it's on your fact sheet, you know you need to cite it. Problem solved, because you know you borrowed the idea. Okay, so let me give you an example of how you do this. There is a basic formula to doing a citation. You give me the information, then you give me the citation, Then you give me the punctuation. Okay, so let me give you an example. Do you like my handy dandy little whiteboard? All right, so here it goes. Information, citation, punctuation. So you can remember the formula, ICP, okay? And you just do this over and over and over again. So if I'm quoting a fact, here's some of my words. I had to quote this last little section here. So there's the information, here's the citation, there's the punctuation. But you say, oh, but Miss Witcher, I put this fact in my own words, so I don't have quotation marks. Totally fine. Still have to cite it. So here's a summary. Let's say this is my information that I have summarized in my own words, but I still borrowed the idea. The idea itself was not my own, so I still have to create the citation and then the punctuation. Okay, and this punctuation can be any punctuation, which is what I'm showing you here. The only punctuation that comes before the citation is quotation marks. That's it. All other punctuation goes outside. Here's the reason. If these quotation marks went over here with all the other punctuation, it would look like I'm quoting my citation, which I'm not doing. That doesn't make any sense. So the quotation marks only go around the elements that are borrowed exactly from my source. So if I'm using their exact words, not my own words, that's where I put quotation marks. Okay? So basic formula, information, citation, punctuation. So give me the information, give me a citation, and give me the punctuation to finish it. Here's what you need to know about this specifically. This citation essentially becomes part of the sentence. So if that's why the punctuation goes out here. Okay? So this citation only applies to the sentence it is a part of. Okay? Not the sentence before, not the sentence after. It only applies to the sentence it is included in. So keep that in mind. Okay? We'll talk about what goes inside the citation here in just a second. All right, so for your in-text citation, which you can see here, you have two options. The answer really is what goes in here is whatever comes first on your works cited citation. So this is almost like a footnote that says, hey, you want to know where I found this information? I'm going to give you the first piece of information from my works cited citation, right? What goes on my works cited page at the end. I'm just going to give you that little bit right here because if I gave the whole works cited citation in my paper, that would make my paper really difficult to read. And I don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do is just give you a little breadcrumb right here that will lead you to my entire works cited citation at the end of my paper. So what typically comes first on your works cited citation? Well, your author or authors' last names. That's what goes in here. You say, oh, but Miss Witcher, I have sources that don't have authors. Totally fine. What would come first on the works cited citation then? The title. Okay, so then a short form, because some of these titles are really long, and we want to keep this simple. So what would go in here is a short form of the title. All right, so you give me the information, then give me the citation, which will either be author or author's last names. If you have more than one author, you have to list all their last names. The page number, if I have one, okay, where that fact came from, which a lot of you will not have page numbers, don't make them up, okay? And then punctuation at the end. So let me give you some examples, okay? What goes in the citation? Either the author and page number, or authors and page number, or if I don't have an author, what would come first? Well, that would be the title. So this really should match whatever comes first on my works cited citation. Good thing for you, your facts are already connected to your works cited citations because you have them together on the page. So this is very simple. Look for that fact. Say, oh, here's what came first on the works cited citation that fact came from. I see I have 3 authors. Then I'm going to list those out, put a page number if I have one, call it good. Okay, so let me give you some examples. So let's say I have one author, okay, and I look at my works cited citation and it says Smith, John. Well, here's what I'm going to put. I'm going to put the author's last name, no author's first names. I'm going to put the author's last name and a page number if I have one. You say, oh, but Miss Witcher, I have 2 authors. Okay, well, here's how to do 2 authors. I have Smith, John, and Harold Lee. Well, again, no first names. I'm going to put the author's last names, Smith and Lee. That's it. And you say, well, I don't have a page number. Fine, don't put one. Just Smith and Lee. Keep it simple. All right, you say, oh, but I have sources that have 3 or more authors. Fine. What we're going to do is we're going to call that Smith et al. And by the way, that's also what you should do in your works cited citation. If you have 3 or more authors, you just list the first one and put et al. Then it will match what you have here. If you have a page number, this is what it would look like. Notice all I put between there is a space, no comma. Okay, no commas, no P, period, or anything like that. Keep it simple. Again, you said, but Ms. Butcher, I have sources that don't have authors. My works cited citation starts with a title. Totally fine. Let's say that I have a source that's called Run Fast and Eat Light. It's actually a book. But here's what it would look like. So I'm just going to give you a short form of the title. I'm not going to give you the whole title. I'm going to put it in quotation marks because it's a title, and then the page number that my fact came from. So that's what it would look like with a title. And I'm sorry that's backwards. I don't know how else to fix that. Okay, so 1 author, give me author's last name, page number. 2 authors, give me 2 authors' names and page number if I have one. A lot of your sources won't have page numbers. Don't worry about it. Don't make them up. You only put page numbers if they're actually printed on your source and not the page numbers from the printer. I don't know how many times I see students tell me their facts came from page 1, but if you've ever opened a magazine or a journal, there's typically a table of contents or something like that on page 1. You generally don't get facts on page 1. Okay, so if I have 3 authors, 3 or more, it looks like this, Smith et al. Page number if I have one. If not, it would just be Smith et al. And then the parentheses. And then a title. Okay, so let's say this information, I would give you information. Then in my parentheses, I would give you Smith 23, if that's where that page number where that fact came from, and then punctuation. Okay, so here's an example. You can see here on my slide, I have Little Girls or Little Women, the Disney Princess Effect. Okay, so here's my information. The author notes that many Disney princesses are scantily clad, such as Aladdin's Jasmine. Now, you know I put that in my own words because they're not quotation marks. However, that idea is still borrowed. It was not my own idea. So I still have to cite it, even though I already put it in my own words. Okay? Now, Haynes then is my author. You'll notice I don't have a page number, so I just gave you my author's last name. Now, how does that tie in? Well, if I take you back to my source card or to my works cited citation, it looks like this. Mm-hmm. So you can see Haynes is then the first is the first thing on my works cited citation. Okay, so we want these things to match. If I had 2 authors here, then I would put both authors' last names in that citation. This should be very simple. It should not be annoying to your reader, so you want to keep it very clean. That's the big thing MLA is trying to do, is make sure that it's not annoying to your reader to try to read these citations. So keep them simple. All right. And you say, okay, that's fine. But let's say I have 3 facts I'm going to use in a row, and they're all from the same source. That's awesome. Do I have to put Haynes, like fact, Haynes, fact, Haynes, fact, Haynes? Oh, good golly, no. Because you say, well, but Ms. Butcher, you just told me that I need to make this easy for my reader. And if I have sentence, citation, sentence, citation, sentence, citation, if they're all from the same source, that seems like that would be difficult to read. The answer is yes, it would. So here's what you're going to do to solve that problem, okay? So what you're going to do, and I'm going to erase a little bit of my, my board, is you're going to give me a signal phrase. Okay. So I'm going to give you a signal phrase. You're going to give a signal phrase. Then you will give me all of your information. Okay. So you'll give me signal phrase. Then you'll give me the 3 facts that you're going to use. Maybe some are quoted. Maybe this guy's quoted. Has a little quotation in there. Okay. But instead of doing fact, Haynes, fact, Haynes, fact, Haynes, that would be terrible. That would be very annoying to your reader. You don't want to do that. So I would give some kind of signal phrase before. Then I would give my facts. Then I would give my citation and punctuation at the end. Essentially, what we're doing is saying, here's where my facts start, here's where my facts end. Okay? I have to have this one right here. This in-text citation is required. This guy is only if you have multiple facts from the same source and you don't want to have to do sentence citation, sentence citation, sentence citation. Okay, so this is just a way to make your paper cleaner. Okay, so what goes in the signal phrase? Something like according to, or in the article, or whatever that may be. Okay, something that indicates that you're starting research here and then this is where it ends. Okay, here's the one rule you need to know. Whatever goes in here, right? If I use author's last name here, I cannot also use it here. You can't have them be the same. Okay, so whatever goes down here, this needs to be something else. So if I put Smith down here, then this could be the title of the article. If I need to use the title down here because I don't have an author, this could be the publisher, CNN. Okay, so these two cannot match. What I tell students is you don't get to double dip. Okay, you can't make this Smith and this Smith. They cannot be the same. They can't be the exact same. Okay, so whatever goes down here, you need to put something different up here. So here's what this looks like. On the slide, you can see my example. I have in the article, little girls or little women, the Disney princess effect. That's my signal phrase. Then I give you my information. The author notes that many Disney princesses are scantily clad, such as Aladdin's Jasmine. Then I give you my citation. Then I give you my punctuation. All right. I will give you some samples in the discussion board also, so you can see what this looks like. But the big thing you need to keep in mind is the basic formula is give me the information, your fact, okay? Give me the citation, where it came from, and then the punctuation. As long as you follow that routine and you put that citation at the end of the facts you borrow, you'll be doing just fine. Okay, and that should not be hard to do because you've already matched every fact to the source where it came from on your fact sheets. Okay, so this should not be hard. So trust this process. All right, so that's what you need to know about how to do citations in your paper. Just an overall reminder, when do you cite? Anytime you're borrowing somebody's ideas. So whether you quote or you put it in your own words, you still need a citation if you borrowed the idea. Okay. One last thing I want to throw in there. One more thing you need to make sure you put in your paragraphs is what we call the warrant. So this is, you have your topic sentence, right? Your thesis is what I'm proving. Then I have my facts, okay? But I have to make sure as the author that I make the connection between the two, between the facts and what I'm trying to prove. And how you do that is by explaining how these facts prove the point I'm making. So your job is to make sure that connection between them is clear. So to make a good assertion, right, to make a good claim, you need to have a fact plus some kind of explanation as to how this proves your point. What you don't want to do is just give me a topic sentence, this is what I'm proving, and then just vomit a bunch of facts onto the page and assume that the reader understands the connection between them. Okay, so let me show you in my example. Here I have little girls are exposed to over-sexualization at an early age. That's my claim, okay? That's the claim I'm making. Then I'm going to give you my support. In the article, Little Girls or Little Women, the Disney Princess Effect, the author notes that many Disney princesses are scantily clad, such as Aladdin's Jasmine. So there's my fact. Then I have borrowed. I put it in my own words, but I still cited it because I borrowed the idea. But there's one more thing I need to do, and that is I need to make a connection between my topic sentence or what I'm proving and my fact. How does the fact that Jasmine is dressed the way she's dressed prove that little girls are exposed to over-sexualization at an early age? So what is the connection between those two things? That's your job as the writer. And to be honest, the warrant is what makes an A/B paper. Without them, you're at a C minimum. Okay? If you don't explain how your facts prove your point, you have not made your argument. All right? So you've got to have this piece. Okay, so young girls see these princesses as heroes, and they want to mimic their actions and dress, even off-the-shoulder dresses and dark kohl eyeliner. So the connection is these girls see these princesses like Jasmine, and they want to dress and act like them, even though they're 5, right? So these little 5-year-old girls want to run around wearing a full face of makeup and, not necessarily 5-year-old appropriate clothes because they want to be like these Disney princesses. So that's the connection between my facts and the point I'm making, okay? By the way, I realize this is a little extreme. My little girl dresses up like princesses too. But anyway, it's to give you an example. Okay, so don't forget, this is imperative that you have this warrant piece. Now, do you have to provide a warrant for every fact? No. What a lot of my students do is they give me their topic sentence, right? They make their claim, they give me some facts, they explain those facts. Then they'll give me their counterclaim, give me some facts, explain those. Then they'll give me maybe their rebuttal, and they'll give me then some facts there, and then explain. Okay? One thing I do want to throw in, and something you can do in the warrant, is sometimes it's okay to concede the point. So that is to say, you know what, in this point, the author or the other side actually has a legitimate point. So maybe you make a claim, maybe you give us counterclaim, and you say, Ms. Witcher, I don't have a rebuttal. They actually make a good point here. Fine. In your rebuttal, you can acknowledge that. That's actually a good thing. And you think, wait a minute, that doesn't seem right. But it's true. Going ahead and conceding a point means that you're able to think logically rather than emotionally about these topics. And to be able to say, okay, the other side has to have some merit. Otherwise, people wouldn't even consider the other side. So in the rebuttal, in the warrant of either your counterclaim or in your rebuttal, the warrant could say something like, this is a logical argument and actually makes sense. It's okay to every once in a while concede a point to the other side. And where you can do that is in that warrant explaining your points. Okay, so just keep that in mind, that it is okay every once in a while to offer a concession to the other side, and the warrant is a good place to do that. Okay, now should you do that all throughout your paper? Probably not, because that doesn't make a good argument either. But to occasionally admit that the other side has a good point actually produces a more logical argument. Okay. So those are some things to keep in mind about putting your paper together. Remember, you need intro. You need to balance the opposing and supporting sides. Make sure you give me some of both by giving me claim, counterclaim, rebuttal, then claim, counterclaim, rebuttal, claim, counterclaim, rebuttal. Going through, building your argument by giving me in each of those sections a topic sentence, some facts, and a warrant where you explain how the topic sentence and facts are connected. Okay. You're going to avoid using those words you should not use all throughout your paper. And then you're going to give me a conclusion that pulls it all together and takes all these tiny pieces and fits them all together so that we can see the whole puzzle. And then on the very final page of your paper, on a new page, you're going to give me your works cited page. Now, this should not be hard because you already turned in your sources. And that source page essentially becomes your works cited page. You're just going to title it Works Cited in the top center. So that's going to be the title of that page, is Works Cited. The pagination continues. So this should not be page 1 in the upper right-hand corner. The page numbers should just continue on from the paper. So it does need to be part of the paper document. You also need to have it as part of the same file so that when you upload it and I run it through Turnitin, I can get both of them together. I have to have it all together as one file. So go ahead and keep it all together. Okay, but you do need your works cited. Make sure it's all formatted correctly. Go back and review my feedback to you on your works cited page. Also remember that you must use at least one fact from that source to be able to count it as a source. So if you get to the end of the paper and you never used anything from one of your sources, you have to delete it from your works cited page because it's called works cited. So if you never cited it in the paper, You don't get to put it on the works cited page. All right, so keep that in mind. I know this is a lot of information I have dumped on you, so feel free to go back and review, send me your questions. I will see you in the discussion board, and I'm happy to help you any way I can. All right, happy writing. Let me know what you need help on, and I'll talk to you guys later.